India the world's next startup nation? Well, the answer would be an overwhelming yes if you look at the number of startups, their incredible successes. Some say you must look at the failures as well because important lessons are being learnt every day. And of course, for me personally, the plethora of great ideas that the startup space is now throwing up. Well, this is a new India hoping to get itself firmly on the world map. That's what we're looking at today, all that it takes to be a part of a startup and how the startup is going to change the India story. A special panel now with me, Albinder Dhinsa, co-founder Grofers. You've been sort of hearing of ads of Grofers everywhere. You really couldn't have missed them, especially in the last couple of weeks. There's really a concerted campaign out there. Ashish Chaudhary, co-founder and vice president, Sports 365. Shivani Podar, co-founder FabAlley.com, and also Ishan Gupta, co-founder and CEO Educart. Thanks all so much for taking our time to speak to us. Ishan, first to you. Recent round of funding, you've been in the news. There's great funding coming your way. You've just said, you know, as we were speaking before the show, that there's little chance to soak it in. You're already thinking about the road ahead. Is it always going to be like this? I mean, are you ready for the road always sort of going to be full of, you barely have time to celebrate one success, you're already looking at your next challenges and, you know, where you want to head from here?
No, I think great question. I think funding is not a success. It's just it's a point on the journey. I think for us, we are in a category that we are creating right now. So getting more and more students online and helping them to figure out the right course for themselves. I think that's a category that is under creation. So yes, I think for the next couple of years, a lot of hard work has to be put in to get more course providers on our platform to help them get access and get students access to more courses. So I think it's going to be like this for some time.
It's going to be like this for some time. Albinder, how about you? You've sort of worked with Zomato, that's been your past. You're now with Grofers. Connected to food, but of course entirely different at what they do. What do you believe is sort of the one biggest challenge and one biggest success that people like you face?
Especially sort of given the India ecosystem, right? Like the infrastructure that you need to build successful companies, big companies, it just doesn't exist yet, right? So if you compare us to where a lot of more developed countries, even China is, I think we are sort of still very early in where the companies and entrepreneurs actually have a lot of the support that they need to build good companies. So I think what you spend a lot of your time doing as a founder is actually overcoming a lot of these infrastructure challenges, a lot of the vested interests that are already in the market. Disruption doesn't come easily to India, and I think it'll be a while before it does.
Right, but that has to be a part of the deal, right? Disruption has to come easily.
Yeah,
it
has
to get used to sort of creating, destroying, moving on. I don't know, creating. There's so much churn, but you don't feel there's enough churn already.
I don't think there's enough churn. I think that it needs to be much higher. I think and a lot of entrepreneurs need to take a lot more risks early on, right? I think there's a very healthy number of young people who are now actually coming out of college and starting companies. I think that number needs to be 100x of what it currently is for it to be significant.
Right. That's also one reason because as I think as a society, we're not risk takers. We're not sort of, you know, it takes time to take risks. Most families are still saying, why don't you just try, you know, what say Ishan's offering, like just try your education, try a conventional thing. So people are still, I mean, we're not really a society that likes to take risks, Ashutosh, but do you think that's changing?
I personally think it's changing. The lead indicator here is you see a lot more young entrepreneurs coming in now. So, for example, someone like us, we were told that you study hard, you go to big companies, you make money. It took us 8 years to figure out that, you know, this is not my life's calling. And then suddenly after 8 years, you figure out that, okay, let's follow your passion. Today, at least the lead marker which I was talking about, people actually figure that out at the age of 23, 24, right? And that to me is the biggest change which I witnessed today. The second thing is, you know, the kind of people that are today available to work in startup is also increasing. I mean, kids out of colleges now are really willing to work in a startup, and they actually see it as a fashion that, you know, I work with a startup, right?
Really? So it's getting in vogue. So
exactly.
That's always a good thing, isn't it, Ishan? I mean, in your experience, if it's sort of now the cool thing to do, say.
No, I can draw contrast to 2004. I was in college in third year and I started my first company. And that time, like, I had to move not only my university, but also it was tough to get people to sort of work with us. Today, we are seeing top-notch talent within India and guys who have been outside to come back and want to be part of this ecosystem. I think the other thing that has changed significantly is the availability of very, very early stage capital. So I think just having that, you can then, you know, afford to give the market salaries to good talent. And I think that's also important, right? Not everybody will get the same benefits out of working in a young company. So you do have to compensate your team in the right manner. And I think that availability of capital definitely helps in
Shivani,
bringing
has that
talent.
been your experience as well? Because lots of people sort of say a couple of things, you know, A, that I'm not sure if I can take the risk, B, if I am, but where will I end up in this road? Because there's no certainty. In any case, there's no certainty in anything about life, but perhaps the certainty even less.
Absolutely. No, I think I do feel that it's much easier now. And I think it's because Ishant just mentioned because of two things. One, it's easier to take risks because there's a lot of support in terms of money, in terms of angel investing, in terms of family support. I mean, 10 years back, you know, you tell your family, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to, you know, start up, they're like, you're losing your mind. And, you know, something seriously wrong. So I think that way it's changed a lot. People, I mean, we actually get calls from the top institutes, the top B schools every day saying that, you know, why don't you come for recruitment? And we are ourselves, you know, fairly early stage company, and which is why we
That's a
feel
huge shot in the arm, I'm sure.
yeah, because
I mean,
a lot of
pretty
you know
big.
a lot of people really want to work with startups. They want to, you know, so in fact, so I'm from FMS, and a lot of we see a lot of resumes of people who, you know, FMS grads, seniors, in fact, you know, working, you know, with about 5 to 10 years experience, but looking at moving to the startup sector. So I think that's something which is very interesting. So once you get the right people and the right capital, I think it's something. It's a company that can, you know, one can build.
Right.
So, yeah.
You know, on a previous show that we'd done, there were a group of students who said that the problem with, I mean, and this was their opinion, Albinder, I'd like you to start answering this. And they said the problem is that you need to be from a top-end institution to even get the, you know, get your idea across to people who you want to invest. You got to have, you know, have, say, a Stanford there, an FMS, an IIT, you know, an IIM background for people to sit up and take notice, or they're not really noticing you. I mean, how honest, I mean, how would you sort of honestly answer that?
I think there is a bias. I think we'd be denying it if we said that, you know, there are not a disproportionate number of companies funded by founders from IITs. And
but do they necessarily, I mean, are they necessarily the best, or the best ideas, or the best
no, I think
groups?
what happens is that when people sort of come from a lot of these backgrounds, I think they just feel more comfortable taking a lot of the chances, right? If you just sort of look at number of IIT founders that are out there, of course they are sort of, I think there are a disproportionately high number of, because they sort of feel that they will get the funding. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy for them. It is unfortunate. I think there is, at least when I see within Grofers, a lot of our early talent, a lot of the people that have been with us for most of the journey, they're actually not from IITs, and they have probably a bigger role to play than Saurabh and I in actually building the company.
Ashutosh, what else sort of matters when you're looking to hire? Because you keep talking about this fire in the belly, but in an interview, 10 minute, 20 minute, maybe even half an hour, how do you sort of gauge it?
So to be very honest, we think that we haven't cracked it yet. I mean, we've had both type 2, type 1 errors in our hiring. Sometimes, and actually most of the times, actually we take a leap of faith. So, so as the panelists said here that you know, resumes after a few years doesn't really matter. It's just a conversation, and we are just looking at you know, 2 or 3 things which indicates that there's a spark in the person, and he will be able to positively contribute to what we are building.
But Ishant, for all those who sort of keep writing into us to say, I have a great idea, and I believe that I have the next big startup story, but I don't know what to do next. Is an idea enough?
No, and of course an idea is not enough. I think
Is it the most important? I mean, what are the top 4 things? Where does the idea figure?
So I think the most important thing is to get started, right? So, so that I've seen 2 kinds of entrepreneurs. One is a very consulted types, right? So there will be a whole market analysis, what works, what may not work, looking at a lot of models, and that's one approach. The other approach is if you believe in something and you think that this can work, you might start it. So I would say start quickly and fail even more quickly. And that's what I would go with. So if you have an idea, go out there, start talking to people, figuring out what is the kind of reaction you are getting, and if you feel that there's something you want to do, jump in.
Shivani, what would you say?
So I think to me the idea is probably one of the most important things, because you know, creating another you know, another brand or another company which already exists, which is already offering a similar service, to me does not, unless there is a unless there's a difference in terms of what you're doing and it's a differentiated offering in whichever way it is, whether it's service, product, however it is. To me, you know, you'll just be another company. So which is why I feel like having a great idea at the beginning of it and being flexible that if that idea doesn't work, one may want to change it. or one may evolve depending on how the market is and how you perceive how the market responds to the idea. So I think, but having that one idea and saying that this is what I want to do, and something that you truly believe in, is probably one of the that's a starting step. That's the most
important. Would it be fair to say
step.
that you sort of need a plan A, B, C, or does one not have to think so far? Put your heart and soul in plan A, or be ready for plan B. How does it play out? Like, for instance, for you, when you made this wish to set up your company, sort of, did you have? Does one even think of failure at that stage?
I actually agree with Ishan that you sort of just have to take that leap and figure it out on the way down, that what's actually happening. I think execution matters a lot, right? Which is where sort of a lot of the biases and what is the people's background and sort of what kind of dedication they have to actually executing something. I think your idea should be original. It should be something that's disruptive. But that's not enough to make it successful, right? The only thing that will matter at the end of the day is how well are you able to execute. And execution can be, are you able to hire good people? Are you able to actually build a good product? Are you able to understand what your consumer actually wants?
I think it's a function of opportunity cost. So, for example, I've been consultant all my life, right? And when we start out, you have to do a lot of sacrifices in terms of your lifestyle, etc., etc. So actually, we set timelines. We say that okay, let's give it a shot for 24 months and see how it goes. And in between, we put some gating conditions like 12 months down the line, we should have A, B, C, D to be able12 move into the next 12 months. That's how we plan. Unfortunately, as we go on, and that's how Sports 365 went on, we realized after 12 months all the criteria that we had set for the gate 1 weren't fulfilled, but we still said okay, let's take a leap of faith and let's do another 12 months. So we just kept adding 12 months to it, but at least ideally we would like to plan like that.
Right.
But that hasn't happened in our case.
Is it possible to plan like that, Ishan? I mean, can you sort of really plan the next X number of months for, I mean, even after this round, if you're already worrying about what next, I mean, how much can you really plan?
I want to replace the word, it's about momentum, right? So I think, so for me, it is not about worrying, it's more about the momentum. So we have momentum going on in something, some things are working well, and a lot of things may not be working well, but it doesn't matter, you build on what is working well. So you might have planned 10 things, and 3 out of them are working really well, 2 are okay, and 5 are not working. So you then focus on those 5 things, and then you start building more momentum on that. And I completely agree. So therefore your plan is going to change, your pitch deck is going to change, your pitch is going to change, and that's fine. I think it all comes down to the team, right?
Right, we take it from there. We have to slip into a quick break now. There's lots more coming up, including a couple of questions that some people who are calling themselves wannabe entrepreneurs have. I'm going to put that to the panel. Back right after this.